continuous betterment. Sometimes it's called the law of accumulation, is that each thing you learn accumulates and helps you improve in other things that you learn. And my question I started off with was, if I wanted to increase my income 10 times, and I came up with this formula: if you could increase your productivity by 0.1% per day 5 days a week, could you do that? Well, 1/10 is 1/1000th more productive. Most people could be twice as productive just simply by focusing on the most valuable use of their time every morning. But this is just 1/1000th more productive per day. So if I said if you could do that 0.1% per day 5 days a week, you'd be 0.5% more productive in a week. Having become 0.5% more productive, could you do it next week? And the answer is yes. So that would be, in 4 weeks you'd be 2% more productive. In 13 4-week months, 52 weeks, you'd be 26 more productive in the course of a year. Is that possible? And the answer is, of course it's possible. Most people could be twice as productive within 24 hours just by doing only the most valuable things they have to do. If you did it 26% a year with compounding times 10 years, at the end of 10 years you'd be 1004% more productive. You'd increase your income by more than 10 times. Interesting. I was in China last week, and my translator is a man named Peter Yao, and Peter started studying my materials on YouTube a decade ago when he was a security guard at night in a shopping center, and work income from a farm came from a very low level, and he began to watch free videos with translation, German or Chinese characters on YouTube, and he began to learn English because he could see the characters. He actually taught himself English watching my videos, and one of my videos was on this 1000% formula that I'm going to share with you. So I was talking on the stage to several hundred business people in China, and I would say I was talking about this 1000% formula, and he stopped and he translated. He said he learned this formula 10 years ago, and he didn't increase his income 10 times or 20 times. He increased his income 166 times. In 10 years he went from a poor Chinese worker to being a wealthy Chinese businessman, property owner, and he did it in 10 years. He's only in his mid-30s. So what I started to use this formula I'm going to share with you. Instead of taking 10 years, it took me 5 years to increase my income 10 times, and then I kept doing it, and I increased my income 10 more times, which is 100 times. I increased my income 100 times in 10 years, and I went from rags to riches, and I couldn't believe it. And I shot this all over the world, and people come up to me and they say, "You made me rich. That technique made me rich." So here they are, just in case you're curious. Number 1 is arise 2 hours before your first appointment or work each morning and strand 30 to 60 minutes reading in your field. Start the day. It's called the golden hour. Invest the gold an hour in yourself mentally. What I do is I get up and I physically exercise, and then I read and learn every single day. Make it a habit, and I do it 5, 6, 7 days a week, and sometimes longer. But if you read 30 to 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you'll read about a book a week. A book a week will translate into about 50 books a year. The average adult does not read more than 1 non-fiction book in a year. If you read 50 books in a year, 30 to 50, you'll get the equivalent of a PhD in your field. Each year I have read single books with a single chapter with a single observation from an expert that have been worth $1 million to me. But you never know where you're going to get that insight. So what you have to do is keep reading lots of material and every so often it's one observation will just jump off the page at you and your whole life will be changed. So but use the law of probabilities by reading all the time. Reading is to the mind as exercise is to the body. If you want to be physically fit, you work out with physical exercise. If you want to be mentally fit, you have to read. That's number one. Number two is rewrite your major goals in the present tense. Each day I use a spiral notebook, and every day you take and turn the page and rewrite your goals. Not no, don't rewrite them from the previous page. Write them from memory, and I teach people another area to write down 10 goals, and every day write down your 10 goals without referring to the previous page as you write down the goals. It's called not printing, not typing. It's called a psychoneuromotor activity, which is a big word that says it engages your whole brain. When you write down a goal, there's no other way to engage your whole brain, and everything that you write down is actually automatically recorded in your mental hard drive, and it goes into your subconscious and begins working 24 hours a day. I have worked with thousands of people, have written down their goals once, and within 1 year their life was transformed. Some people within 1 week their whole life was transformed by just writing down their goals. Whenever I do my coaching programs with business owners, I'll start off and I'll say, I'll take a spiral notebook like a school notebook. I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you now to your new best friend. For the next 31 days I want you to write down 10 goals on a separate page every day without looking back, and when you come back to the next coaching program, we'll talk about the results. People come back 100% are just shocked at the difference that takes place in their lives, and they begin writing their goals each day. If you just rewrote your goals each day, it would increase your income 1,000%. If you just read 30 to 60 minutes each day, it would increase your income 1,000%. If you did nothing else. Number 3 is to plan every day in advance. Always work from a list and make a list of everything you have to do the next day, the night before. And planning will save you 25 to 50% of your time every single day. You'll get your 1,000% just by planning carefully before you start work. Number 4 is to focus and concentrate on the most valuable use of your time. Every single day, select your most important tasks, start on those and work only on those until they're complete. If you can do that, that alone will increase your income by 1,000%. Number 5 is to listen to audio programs as you move around. I used to say listen to audio programs in your car, but now you can download any number of educational audio programs onto your iPhone, and you can listen to them whenever you're moving around. Turn driving time into learning time. Turn
exercise time into learning time. The only time, by the way, to listen to audio programs is when you're doing something else. You can't sit and listen to audio programs because it's too slow. But if you're driving, you can listen. If you're exercising, you can listen. If you're walking, you can listen. Even if you're going shopping, you can listen. Keep feeding your mind with new ideas, because one idea will make you a fortune. I remember listening to one audio program by one very smart entrepreneur in March of 2010, and he had one observation, and I built a whole seminar around that observation, and I have earned more than $2 million. It was sort of like the lightning strike that's put everything together. It's sort of like sometimes electricity in a compound will change the whole compound. It was just one idea that led to it too. $1,000,000 idea, but you never know where the idea is going to come from, so you have to expose yourself to lots of ideas. Number 6 is ask 2 questions. After every event of importance, whether it's a sales call, a meeting with a client, an interview, and the 2 questions are what I call the magic questions, and these questions will make you rich. Question number 1 is what did I do right, and then take and write down everything that you could think of that you did right in that situation. Do this immediately after we were talking on the radio this morning in the military. After every military exercise, they immediately do what is called an after-action report. An after-action report is the officers are forced to sit down and go through every single step of the operation that just took place, and they ask, what did we do right, and what would we do differently? What would we do differently next time? And those what you're doing is you're capturing the very best things that you learn from that last experience. If you do this after every sales call within a year, you'll have increased your sales 5 to 10 times. Is within a year you'll be one of the highest paid people in your field if you do this after every presentation, as I used to do. If you do this after every interview, as I used to do, it's just astonishing how fast you learn and grow when you do an after-action report immediately after you have completed the event or the action. And number 7 is to treat each person like a $1 million customer. Treat each person as that you meet as though they are the most important person in the world. Start with your family, start with your spouse and your children, and as you go through the day, treat everybody as if they were important. Mary Kay Ash, amazing woman who divorced, mother of 2 children, started selling cosmetics and eventually built Mary Kay Ash Cosmetics, which has made more women millionaires than any other single business in history. She said the philosophy of her company was to imagine that everybody you meet is wearing a sign, and the sign says, make me feel important, and respond to that sign that everybody is wearing. So everybody in her company was encouraged to make everybody they met feel important. If you will do that, more doors will open for you, more opportunities will open for you. But the most amazing thing is this is when you make other people feel good about themselves, you feel better about yourself as well as you make other people happy. You feel happier as you raise the self-esteem of others. Your self-esteem and self-confidence that goes up as well. So from now on, treat every person as though this person could buy $1 million worth of your product if you just treated them nicely. And sometimes I see people who will do this with prospective customers, but then they'll treat waitresses and taxi drivers with disrespect. There's the mark of a superior person is the way they treat people who cannot do them any good. So you can always tell a top person because of the way they treat people who can't do any good for them.